Hey, how's it going guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be checking out the fastest possible method to level up in Dragon Quest XI. This method will only work in very late game, as you will need 2 of the pet powers that you won't have early on in the game. So let's start the preparations. There are a few things we can do to make this method a lot more effective. The first is we want to have as many critical strike attacks possible with our characters, as ultimately we will be fighting metal slimes. So we don't necessarily need these, but they will however make it a lot more effective and more consistent. The first one is critical claim for Eric, which is right at the top of his board up here. And then for Jade, we want to unlock Thunder Thrust, which is one of her spear attacks, to also do critical strikes. So for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, the metal slimes in this game give a tremendous amount of XP. However, if we attack them with normal attacks, it will only ever do 1 damage if it hits them at all. But they are still vulnerable to critical attacks. The critical attacks will still do full amount of damage, therefore killing them pretty much instantly, and making things a lot easier for us. Now that we have our critical attacks unlocked, we want to fight any enemy on the game. It really does not matter whatsoever which enemy you fight, preferably even a weaker, lower level enemy. Then the first thing we're going to do inside the fight is make sure we only leave 1 enemy alive. The reason we're doing this is so we get more turns and we don't have to wait through the enemy's turns. And the reason for this is because we want to be in pep mode with Eric, the protagonist, and Jade. So use Accelerate on our party to make sure those characters get more turns, as pep mode on this is related to the more turns you get, the quicker you go into pep mode pretty much. So obviously by having Accelerate, you get more turns, the enemy gets less, so you ultimately have to lose less real time to team pep mode with these characters. So once we've got Accelerate into the characters, simply defend with everyone until all 3 of these characters hit pep mode. If one of them hits pep mode a lot earlier than the others, simply switch him out to make sure it doesn't waste away his pep mode until the other 2 characters also receive their pep mode. Now that we have Eric, the protagonist, and Jade in pep mode, we want to use their pep power called Alleluia. And what this is going to do is it's going to exponentially increase the amount of XP and rewards we're given at the end of the fight. So once we use that, don't end the fight quite yet. We're going to continue in the fight, and this time we're going to make sure that the protagonist, Jade, and Sylvando this time hit pep mode at the same time. So we'll do the exact same thing, continue through the stages. This seems like it's taken a long time, but it's definitely worth the rewards at the end, especially the later levels you get. Now that we have pep mode with, like I said, Sylvando, Jade, and the protagonist, we're going to use the pep power called Electro Light. This one is unlocked pretty late game, which is why we specified this is late game only. When we use this, it will most likely replace the enemies with metal slimes. I shouldn't say replace, as it doesn't matter how many enemies there are. There can be only 1 enemy, and there could be like 4 metal slimes or 3 metal slimes. Doesn't directly replace them. It simply replaces the entire fight itself for a metal slime fight. And the higher levels you are, the better metal slimes you'll get. Once you hit level 70, you'll pretty commonly get the King metal slimes, which release an incredible amount of XP if you manage to kill them. There is a small chance that Electro Light won't turn them into metal slimes. It will turn them into other random enemies, which is pretty low chances, but it can happen. And if that does happen, you have to simply finish the fight, deal with it, and do it over again. It's recommended to have as high possible agility with both Jade and Eric, as they're the ones doing the criticals, to make sure you get to attack before they get the chance to run away. Because metal slimes have a tendency of trying to escape the fight early as possible. So most likely a few of them will get away either way if you miss an attack or simply because they get to attack first. But as long as you take 1 or 2 of them out per fight, it will still be well worth it. Even by taking out just 1, it would still be the fastest method, especially like I said, the later levels you get. When you're taking out the normal metal slimes, it doesn't seem too great because you're only getting maybe like 30 to 50,000, which is still pretty good. But later on, you can be getting 300,000 plus XP per fight, which takes approximately about 7 to 10 minutes. So that's all there is to this. As you can see, this is an absolutely incredible farming method. I hope you find it helpful. If you did, don't forget that thumbs up button, subscribe for more content coming very soon, and we'll see you next time.